Hello, welcome back to the 2026 Humanistic STEM Symposium. We're going to get started again after our lunch break, and so we will be picking up again with a discussion of the art program at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. We'll be joined by Prenisha Reid. She serves as the program coordinator for the Atlanta Airport Art Program at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, one of the largest and most visited public art sites in the southeastern United States. In her role, she helps integrate site-specific artwork, rotating exhibitions, and performance programming into the daily experience of millions of travelers, shaping how art and culture intersect with public space and civic life. She holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a minor in graphic design from Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University. Her work models how artistic vision and public engagement can transform environments and broaden access to creative expression. Please join us in welcoming Ms. Reid to speak with us about the ATL art program. So if you would like to share your slides whenever you're ready, thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Prenisha Reid. I also go by Pre. I work for the Atlanta Airport Art Program. I'm very excited to talk to you all today about the work that I do and my colleagues do. I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to present art on a global stage. We make a joke that because Hartsfield-Jackson International is the busiest and most efficient airport in the world, that we are managing the world's busiest art gallery. So I can't follow the nice introduction I just got, but I'll add a little bit to it. I'm also from Jacksonville, Florida, though I'm based in Atlanta. So not too far from Embry-Riddle. So ATL Airport Art integrates art into the daily fabric of Atlanta Airport for the benefit of passengers and employees. The art program commissions site-specific artwork, produces and curates rotating exhibits, and manages performances and artist programming. So some of the performances that we do, because I won't talk a lot about that in my presentation, we used to be responsible for the holiday performances. So like carolers coming, sometimes we have dancers that reach out to us and ask if they can exhibit some type of performances to activate different spaces around the airport. So I want to talk a little bit about our staff. We are a small but mighty team. There's 4 of us. We have our interim director, Benjamin Austin, who's been working with the program for about 7 years, and also worked as an intern before he got hired full-time to work for the art program. So he probably has the most experience out of all of us with this specific airport. Jess Bernhardt is our program manager. Lauren Kolodkin is a fellow coordinator, and then also myself. And here's a quote from our interim director, Benjamin. "The goal is to use the airport as a platform to elevate local artists and create an engaging environment for passengers." And this is a very informal photo after one of our staff retreats. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the program. So the initiative to display artworks at ATL originated in 1979. They commissioned 14 pieces to be installed at the domestic side of the airport. This is before Hartsfield-Jackson International is what we know it to be right now. So this would have been on, like I said, the domestic side. So you could see works by Curtis Patterson, David Hammonds, Linda Binglis, Benny Andrews, and Sam Gilliam, and others. Approximately 25 years later, a series of new artworks were commissioned to welcome the world to Atlanta for the Olympics in 1996. The part of the airport that was extended would be E Concourse and then eventually F. If you visit the airport, if you frequent our airport, you would notice that E Concourse has the most dense collection of art. Every single boarding gate has a permanent commissioned work. And that's also my favorite part of the airport. So we have art everywhere across the airport. We are constantly thinking about ways to incorporate art in a meaningful way to add to both travelers and our employees' experiences. And here's a fun fact about the airport. So the airport employs more people in the state of Georgia than any other corporation. It's basically like a mini city. So this is our social media wall. It exists on the lower roadways. If you are either parking, you could see it, or if you're walking into the airport after parking, you can catch this wall. This is just one side of the airport. Our goal is to install another set of photos on the other side, but these works were selected by doing a lot of cold contacting folks on Instagram to ask them if they'd be interested in sharing some of their works for this exhibit. So I used a lot of geotags to locate people. So anybody that posted pictures using Atlanta airports, ATL, or just in the vicinity of the airport, I contacted the folks and asked them, like I said, if they would be willing to participate. So what you can see in this photograph is that the bottom right-hand section of each photo has the social media info of the photographer. This was an idea by our former boss. We've recently moved to a different team, but our former boss pitched this idea to us as a way to, give people who are not artists an opportunity to be a part of the airport. So how do we work? As stewards of this program, we wear many hats. We're curators, we're administrators, preparators, conservators, maintenance managers, graphic designers, docents, copywriters, and more. We're very busy. But I really do love my job, and I love that I get the opportunity to work with so many different artists, especially coming from a studio art background. So our program is split up into two parts. We have permanent exhibits and special projects and rotating exhibits. The works on view can be anything from a sculpture, illustrations, photography, paintings, installations, and we're in the process of acquiring animations. The photo to my left is a photo mural site. It's titled Athens, Georgia by Henry Owings. So this work is comprised of many posters from Athens, Georgia, as it is a hub for music. So a lot of these posters can date back as far as maybe like the late 70s, early 80s. It's a really cool work, and this is actually one of the first things I worked on when I started working for the art program about 2.5 years ago. I had to look at this on my computer to zoom in and see if there was anything inappropriate so that way I could take it out. And that's the other interesting thing about working for the art program. One of the things that we have to consider is that people experiencing the art program's works aren't necessarily opting into a gallery experience. So we have to be considerate of why people are traveling. And of course, again, employees, right? You're having a bad day. You want work that can immerse you in a space to make you feel comfortable, engaged. It just depends on the work. People are traveling for vacations, funerals, graduations, stuck at the airport for a layover, and we want to be considerate of where people's minds are when they're walking through the airport. So permanent exhibits and special projects. We have over 1,000 pieces of artwork, and this airport acts as the largest public art site for the southeastern US. There's so much to explore. And anytime anybody comes to take a tour at the airport to see the art program, I always tell them, please wear comfortable walking shoes. So the commission works are funded by the city's Percent for Art ordinance that requires a percentage of capital construction budgets to be allocated towards public arts. So basically, anytime anything new is built at the airport, whether it's somebody fixing something or just something brand new, 1% of those funds goes into a bucket of money for permanent works for the art program. As somebody that's coming from a nonprofit art background, I'm so glad we don't have to seek granting. I think we're very privileged in that way. To the right of this slide, you'll see a work by Radcliffe Bailey, who recently passed away, maybe in the last year and a half. This work is titled Saints. When I see this work in the airport, I know I'm in Atlanta. So if you're heading down the escalators towards the transportation mall, which is where the trains are, you can catch this work, or if you're headed up escalators. Here's a closer look at it. It's a beautiful piece. It's very intricate. There's too much to look at to gather in one trip down the escalator. Here's another popular work. This is called Flight Pass by Steve Waldeck. This work got us a Coda Works award when it was opened. And it's essentially a canopy. It's an immersive space, and it's one of my favorites to just kind of dwell in. You can sit quietly if you want along the moving sidewalks. It's usually very quiet in there. There's a sound component that you'll hear the sounds of regional birds. There's also projection mapping, and there's monitors above your head when you're walking through that space. As of right now, we're in the process of restoring some of the monitors. So give us a minute, and it'll be back to its full glory. This is a prototype of a lenticular print. This project is being worked on by a filmmaker named Ramel Ross. If you're familiar with the movie called Nickel Boys, he's the filmmaker behind that. This probably is not the best video, but I just wanted to show you what it looked like, and I'll rewind it again for just a second. So this process takes a while. As you can see, we're able to animate something without the use of technology. When this project is completed, it will go in a Guinness Book of World Records for the largest lenticular work, or just largest lenticular print ever. So I'm really excited for that. The work will be Afrocentric in nature, and it will tell the story of Black America, essentially. This is a photo. Well, the photo to the left is a ribbon cutting ceremony that we just had last week or the week before that. Time is flying by. So this is Blue Skies. Our airport just turned 100 last year, so we are still celebrating our centennial. The lease was signed by the city in 1925, and the first flight landed at Candler Airfield in 1926. The original jet terminal was started in 1957, but was replaced by the current midfield terminal in 1980. So that'll be concourses T, A, B, C, and D. So to the left, you'll see our mayor centered. You'll see some of my colleagues, me to the right, my other colleague, Lauren, to the far left. Unfortunately, I forgot to take off my badge before we took the photo, despite people telling me to do so an hour before. But it's a beautiful exhibit. It tells a story of our airport. It talks about the land, the people, the fashion. We even have a maternity dress from an airline. And we have these boards that you'll see at the top right on the second image. We have about 3 of them in the exhibit, and they are working. So they flip throughout the day. And I love the sound of it. The carpet was designed to mimic the runway, and I'm sure children will have a field day with that one. So we are collecting animations. We've commissioned a couple of artists to create things for the art program. We have about maybe 5 monitors right now that are dedicated to just art program programming. We are also in the process of getting some of these animations displayed on the boarding gate monitors. So I'm excited to get that done because we've also commissioned an artist to create work for FIFA World Cup, which will be coming to Atlanta this June. And we're so excited for that and gearing up to have a lot of special projects related to that. We'll be activating the airport with a few works that will act as like scavenger hunts. And I don't want to say too much because I kind of want to leave some things to surprise. But yes, this work is by John Andrews. It's hand-painted stills to show the story of this cute little luggage moving through the airport. And I'm going to speed it up a little bit because there are other animations. There's about three videos. 2 are animations. 1 is a music video. So there he goes. Oh, here, I'll let it finish a little bit. So by John Andrews. And then the next one is a work by Thea Rose, who did a stop animation crochet work. So we're thinking about a lot of different ways to incorporate art and to select artists who are making works that will engage viewers. One of the things that my boss, our program director, or our interim program director, Benjamin Austin, wants to do is create an, a movie theater. So like a small passenger-sized movie theater that your luggage can sit next to you. So I'd like to think that we're slowly building on that by having these animations. So this is a work by John Andrews. So I'll pause that there. I just wanted to kind of give you a sample. So this is the only one with a sound component. The thing about displaying any type of video with a sound component in the airport, it has to be ADA compliant. So we have to include subtitles. The other thing that we acquired about 2 years ago, shortly after I started with the art program, is a short story machine. There is a company based in France that creates short story machines, and they print short story machines on demand. We have cited this machine near one of the coffee shops. That way while folks are waiting for their coffee or after they've grabbed their coffee, they can grab a story. So it's thermal printed paper, no ink required, which we love. There are 3 buttons on the machine, so we can print 3 different types of stories. It can either be a children's story, an adult story, or a story for Spanish speakers. There's poems, fiction, nonfiction, you name it. And this sign to the right says that you can submit your own short story using the QR codes. Fortunately, this company that created the product, they also come with a backlog of stories that they are constantly adding to, and they alternate stories based off of what season we're in. So if it's the holiday season, they sprinkle in some holiday stories. If it's getting close to Valentine's Day, we're going to see more love-related things. But my favorite part is that folks can have their own story shown and shared with the world. Rotating exhibits. So I work primarily with rotating exhibits. This is my thing. I love it. My favorite part about the work that I do relating to rotating exhibits is going on studio visits. I love to see the way artists are working and thinking. You can only imagine what people are thinking about in their studio spaces and how they are tying a lasso around an idea and bringing it into reality. So the work above is by Tori Tinsley. It's called Everyday Carry Items. I loved this piece when it was up. We just deinstalled it maybe 2 months ago. And the work is centered around how this artist, Tori, was feeling around COVID. She kind of started focusing on being prepared in the case of a disaster. Somebody gifted her a book about objects you should keep on your person in case of a disaster. So that's what this is. There's a lot of objects in it, and everything is made out of paper, tape, and paint, except for the wood stand that the donkey and the human lounging or laid out is laying on top of. So there are over 25 rotating exhibit spaces utilized for the exhibits that are on view from anywhere from 3 to 18 months. We have the atrium gallery, which is accessible pre-security in the domestic atrium. That's probably our shortest rotation time, and I manage those rotations personally. And that space rotates every 3 months. These cases on e-concourse, it's anywhere from 12 to 18 months, and sometimes longer. It just depends, but on average, 12 to 18 months. So we're constantly working to install folks and deinstall and thinking about how to be prepared for what people need. If there's technology in your case, we're going to need a timer so that way things turn off and don't get overheated in those cases. So this is another rotating exhibit space. I mentioned our transportation mall earlier. This is the lower level where the train is located to take you through the airport to get to your concourse. So we have 4 photo mural sites that exist between our permanent exhibits. I showed you flight paths earlier. This is an example of what you can find between them. So if you're in the airport, next time you're flying through ATL and you have the time, I highly encourage you to take the walk on the transportation mall level. We have moving sidewalks, so it doesn't make the walk as bad, but there's always something exciting to see. This show is titled When I Look and You Look Back. It's a portraiture show featuring 4 photographers. To the left, you'll see the work by Peyton Fulford. Top right, this is a photo from Talicia Tucker's exhibit, and bottom right is a photo from Jose Ibarra's exhibit. The last one is Kendall Besant. This is another rotating exhibit space. It's a photo mural site on the domestic side. So again, this is something that's accessible to folks who can see it without needing a ticket or a flight. This work is by Fabian Williams. It is our Jimmy Carter mural that we put up shortly after Jimmy Carter passed away. And it also features his wife, Rosalind Carter. To the left, this is the underpaint for this artist. This is his style of creating. I thought it was important to show you this, just to show you how this artist thinks and how they are bringing their ideas into reality. So he uses a hieroglyphic style to kind of lay out the intention for the work. You probably can't see as clearly as I can what he says. So you see like the top left, it says Jimmy Carter, it says JIMMY, and each of the hieroglyphs are associated with the letters. At the center, bottom right, it says married. That's so dope. And then it's like, I know, right? I love it. It says so much about Fabian's personality and also the research that he put into learning more about Jimmy Carter to depict him accurately. And that is still up now. This is Grow Through What You Go Through by Victoria Duggar. I love this piece. We just installed this not too long ago. And so sometimes the artists that we work with, they might opt into being, to have someone install their work or ask someone to install it for them. This is Heather Bird Harris. She makes work about ecological disasters. The shapes of the work is based off of the geography affected. The work to the left is about data centers popping up. The work to the right is about watershed and like issues with our water. So we have the ability to talk about a lot of different topics at the airport. I'm really glad that Atlanta doesn't shy away from current issues. This is the work I just installed 2 weeks ago by Congolese artist Masela Nicolo. He lives here in Atlanta. He uses lanterns and screwdrivers as a form of like protection. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about curatorial challenges. This is a beautiful work by Medora Prey. It's called Day Tripper, and it involves technology. Love this piece when we installed it. Something strange happened. The case flooded. We had to deinstall everything and reinstall. You just have to expect the unexpected working in the airport. There's a lot of ground to cover. There's only 4 of us. So sometimes we have other eyes that can alert us to issues going on. But I'm glad Medora was really understanding. So we deinstalled everything. She washed this canvas and then reinstalled everything. This is Lightning Struck. It's about a former community that existed where the Georgia World Congress Center sits. This is another example of Atlanta not shying away from its past. So Atlanta officials decided to create the Georgia World Congress Center and pushed out this neighborhood of people, and we have an exhibit to talk about that. And I remember before we installed it, we asked our boss, is it okay if it says Atlanta officials did blank? I mean, it says that a lot throughout the exhibit, and our boss is like, yeah, do it. This is a work by Michael Reese. These are cyanotypes. This is one of our larger exhibit spaces. Separate from the small cases, we also have full exhibits that can show a full exhibition. So that is the end of my slideshow. Does anybody have any questions? I just wanted to set aside some time for that.
Thank you so much. That was fascinating. I just flew through the Atlanta airport yesterday, and I really appreciated a lot of the artwork there. I saw that lenticular piece. That was amazing. So, yes.
Yeah, we'd love to get that type of feedback. Thank you.
So, can you see in the chat, Kenny Vaden has a question there?
Let's see. Yes, I'm reading it now. Oh, screen display. That's a great question. So I don't know if I can say a lot, but there is something coming very soon. Yes. The difficult thing about technology is maintaining it. I'd like to see that a little bit more too, especially LAX, having done that so well. You know, every year we go to an annual Arts in the Airport workshop. One of my friends says that that's so niche, and it is. But LAX told us more about their process, and it's so impressive. I think that they are really leaders in a lot of what airport art can look like.
Are there any questions from the audience? I was wondering, with the rotating display, with the rotating works, how do you choose that? Do you tend to focus on Georgia, Atlanta-based artists? When you go into filling one of these displays, do you have something in mind, or do you go in with just a totally open mind and see? How do you start this process of choosing these exhibits?
That's a great question. So fortunately, we have the freedom to make selections on our own as a program. So essentially, it's a combination of knowing artists exist and wanting to show their work. We accept proposals on a rolling basis, and we don't exclusively show regional artists. This morning, I had a meeting with an artist that is based in Marrakesh. We might show one of their murals to take a photograph and turn it into a photo mural, I should say.
Excellent.
So we're thinking about a variety of ways.
When you deinstall the works, what tends to happen to them afterwards? Do they go on to other museums, other gallery settings? Do you know?
Okay, so when we deinstall, we technically we pay, oh, this is the other thing. We always pay all of our artists. Nobody is working for free because people have bills to pay. So when we deinstall artwork, we give it back to the artist. They have the option to, decide where they want to show it next. Sometimes this might be the first stop, and we have a lot of conversations with like a curator or an artist about how to refine the exhibit for the next space. And if anybody approaches us to ask us about purchasing a work, they're able to do that on their own. We direct them straight to the artist. So we don't take any payments and just let people do their own thing. One of the other things I didn't show that I wish I would have, and I just forgot about it, is our youth art exhibit spaces. And sometimes people want to buy youth art. And so we direct them to the teachers that manage the work.
Excellent. And with these rotating artworks, what is your timeline for if you have a space that you know that you're going to have to find artwork for? How long does it take you to put together that exhibit?
A smaller exhibit, like a one case, it can take anywhere from like 3 months. For me, I would say on the administrative side, I want to make sure people get paid as soon as they install. So I always tell them the city's slow to pay, make sure you do your paperwork. But it just depends. Sometimes artists they'll send you their proposal, but they won't send you their information for a label, or they won't do the business part of it. And you're like, hey, we got to get it done. But the bigger exhibit spaces, it takes about a year. So anywhere from a year to 6 months. On the short time, maybe like 3 months.
And given that we're coming from an aeronautical university, do you think that there's any special background or preparation that would be useful for somebody who wanted to come and work for an airport art program specific to being in the airport?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'm sure there is. I don't know if I can answer that outright, but I can say this. I think it'd have to be a situation where that person with their unique skill set needs to understand the way the art program works in itself, and then ask themselves how they want to work with the art program. Like right now, we have an exhibit up with Georgia Tech, and it shows different works from different labs. So there's like a few different, maybe 5 or 6 different professors that have created works, not artwork per se, but like an exhibition around the lab work that they're doing.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for your time and expertise. That was a fantastic presentation, and definitely it was really fun. A lot of us being so close to the Atlanta airport, we see this artwork when we travel to and from the university, so it was really interesting to hear some of the behind the scenes of how that artwork gets there. So we will let you get on with your day, but thank you very much for taking time to present.
Thank you. You all have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.